Captain Arik Vega tightened his grip on the railing of the observation deck as the human starship Odyssey descended into Zephora's orbit. The planet below was unlike anything he had ever seen. Forests glowed faintly in shades of blue and green, rivers shimmered like liquid crystal, and towering cities hovered in the clouds held aloft by strange energy fields. Zephora was beautiful, mysterious, and dangerous all at once. "Sir," Lieutenant Kira Jelani said, her voice tense. "Sensors are detecting movement in the capital city. The inhabitants are watching us." Arik squinted at the display. Tiny, graceful shapes moved along the platforms in the sky, their movements swift but deliberate. "They're expecting us," he said quietly. "Or at least they know. We're coming." The Odyssey's engines hummed as it maneuvered toward a landing platform suspended high above the planet's forested surface. The humans had come on a mission of diplomacy, exploration, and science. But as Arik had learned during years of deep space missions, diplomacy with an alien species was never simple. He remembered the council briefing on Earth. Zephora's ruler, the so-called alien queen Zal Thara, had a reputation for being cold and unapproachable. Few species had ever negotiated with her. Those who did usually left empty-handed, or not at all. Arik's mind raced as he prepared his team. Dr. Mira Solon, the human xenobiologist, was checking her equipment with her usual careful precision. "Captain," she said softly, "the readings are unusual. Their energy signatures fluctuate in patterns that almost seem like thought waves. I've never seen anything like this." Arik nodded. "That explains why they can build cities in the clouds. Their technology isn't just mechanical, it's alive somehow. Use your instincts, Mira, but stay cautious." The landing was smoother than expected. The humans stepped onto a broad platform high above the planet's glowing forests. Strange towers spiraled upward, connecting to bridges of light. The sky was streaked with colors Arik couldn't name. And at the center of it all was the palace, the floating throne of Zal Thara. It was enormous, built from materials that seemed both solid and liquid at the same time. Energy pulsed along the edges like heartbeat, and standing at its main balcony was the alien queen herself. Zal Thara was taller than any human, with limbs that moved gracefully but with sharp precision. Her skin shimmered in shades of silver and violet, and her eyes glowed like molten gold. A crown of luminous filaments floated above her head. Even from a distance, Arik could feel her presence pressing down on him, demanding attention. He stepped forward and raised a hand in greeting. "I am Captain Arik Vega of the human starship Odyssey. We come in peace, seeking dialogue and mutual understanding." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She tilted her head, watching him as though weighing every word. Then she spoke. Her voice was loud, piercing, and carried over the entire platform without any technology. "Why don't you leave me alone, human?" The words hit Arik harder than he expected. They were sharp, commanding, and full of warning. The platform seemed to vibrate with her anger. His team froze. Even Kira's confident stance faltered. Arik straightened his shoulders. "We mean no harm, Your Majesty," he said calmly. "We only wish to learn about your world and share knowledge that might help both our species." The Queen's expression remained unreadable. After a long pause, she spoke again, her voice softer but still filled with authority. "Humans are curious, persistent, and dangerous. Why should I trust you?" Dr. Mira Solon stepped forward, her voice steady. "Your Majesty, we do not come to conquer or control. Our purpose is knowledge and friendship. We can offer solutions to environmental problems, medical advancements, and even technology that could help your people flourish." Zal Thara's eyes flicked toward Mira, then back at Arik. She seemed to consider the words, her energy fluctuating visibly. "Flattery does not sway me," she said, "and technology is not always a gift. Sometimes it is a trap." Arik swallowed. He knew she was right. Humans had a history of bringing both progress and destruction to other worlds. But he also knew that they could choose differently this time. "We understand your caution," he said. "We know your people have lived for millennia without interference. But perhaps, together, we can face dangers that neither of us could handle alone. The Queen's gaze held him for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, she gestured for them to follow her. "Come," she said. "If you value your lives, do not make a mistake here. One wrong move, and you will regret it." Arik led his team across a glowing bridge of energy that stretched from the landing platform to the Queen's palace. The air seemed alive, humming with energy that made their hair stand on end. Kira whispered, "It's like walking through electricity." Inside the palace was even more astonishing. Walls of translucent crystal pulsed with colored light. Strange plants with luminous leaves floated in midair. The floor seemed to ripple beneath their feet, and everywhere there were alien beings, of various shapes and sizes, moving in silent coordination, as though guided by a single mind. Zalthara led them to a massive chamber. The floor was polished to a mirror-like sheen, reflecting the light from the walls. At the center, she stopped and turned to face them. "You will remain here for now," she said. "I will decide if further contact is safe." Arik bowed respectfully. "We understand, Your Majesty." As the humans waited, Mira approached Arik quietly. "Captain, I think she's testing us. Not just to see if we are trustworthy, but to see how humans behave under pressure." Arik nodded. "Yes, and we must prove that humans can act with honor, even when fear and uncertainty surround us." Hours passed. The humans observed the palace, noting its strange mechanisms, the intelligence of its inhabitants, and the sense of order and discipline that pervaded every corner. They saw no hostility, yet no warmth either. It was clear that earning the Queen's trust would be far from easy. Finally, Zalthara returned. Her golden eyes glowed brighter, and her presence filled the chamber. "You are patient," she said, "and perhaps curious enough to survive here." She paused, then her tone sharpened. "But remember this, Zephora is mine. My people obey my command. Any action against us will be met with consequences you cannot imagine." Arik bowed again. "We seek only to learn and cooperate, that is all." The Queen considered him for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she gave a slight nod. "Very well. You may stay. But do not mistake this for permission to act freely. I am watching, human. Every word, every movement." As she turned to leave, Arik felt a strange mixture of relief and determination. This was only the beginning. Zephora was beautiful, dangerous, and full of secrets, and he was determined to understand it, and the Queen who ruled it, without making the mistakes humans had made on so many other worlds. Outside the chamber, Mira whispered, "Captain, we've just stepped into the most difficult mission of our lives. But also, perhaps the most important." Arik looked out a window at the glowing cities above the forests and felt a surge of hope. "Yes," he said, "and if humans can show honor, courage, and intelligence here, maybe we can prove that our species is more than what the galaxy expects." For the first time, he felt that human persistence, curiosity, courage, and ingenuity might just be enough to earn the respect of an alien queen who had shouted at him, demanding he leave her alone. And that, he realized, was exactly the kind of challenge humans thrived on. The palace of Queen Zalthara was not quiet, but it was silent in a way that made every sound feel heavier. Human feet on the crystalline floor echoed far more than they should have. Arik Vega, captain of the Odyssey, walked cautiously beside Dr. Mira Solon and Lieutenant Kira Jelani, taking in every detail. The Queen had allowed them to remain in the city, but not without conditions. "You will be assigned quarters and observers," Zalthara had said, her voice still stern. "Do not wander, do not interfere, and above all, do not betray my trust." Arik had accepted the terms with a nod. The Queen's temper was legendary, and anyone who underestimated her usually did not live to tell the tale. The humans' quarters were small but functional, located on a lower platform near the edge of the floating city. From the balcony, the forests of Zephora stretched endlessly, glowing faintly in the soft light of the planet's twin suns. Arik could see the city towers twisting into the sky, bridges of energy connecting them like veins. It was breathtaking and dangerous. Mira leaned on the railing, examining the energy patterns around the platforms. "Captain," she said softly, "there's something unusual about their structures. It's like their buildings are alive. They respond to movement almost as if the city itself is aware of us." Auric nodded. "Yes, and if the Queen can control this, then every step we take is being watched. We have to be careful, but observant. Every piece of knowledge we gain is valuable." That evening, the humans were escorted to the palace's gardens for a meeting with a group of the Queen's advisors. The advisors were tall, graceful beings, their skin shimmering in different colors depending on mood or intention. They spoke in a melodic language that the human translators decoded slowly. "You are curious about Zephora," said one of the advisors, his voice like wind over glass. "Curiosity is dangerous here. Our world has survived many ages by caution and secrecy. Humans, you are bold, perhaps foolish." Auric bowed slightly. "We are bold because we seek understanding. We do not wish to harm. We only wish to learn and help." The advisors exchanged glances. One of them, a female named Thalnira, spoke sharply. "Many have come before you. Many have claimed to be friends, and yet they have all failed. How do we know you are different?" Auric took a deep breath. "Because humans learn from mistakes. We have caused harm in the past, but we can choose to do better. We want to act with honesty, not power." Thalnira's eyes flicked toward the palace gates. "We will see. There are problems in the city, internal divisions. Some factions do not trust outsiders. Some do not even trust the Queen." Mira's curiosity flared. "Internal divisions? Could these be political?" "More than political," Thalnira said. "Some do not wish to see Zephora survive. They want chaos, war, and to drive out all outsiders. If you wish to help, you must understand the danger." Auric felt a chill. He had expected diplomacy to be difficult, but internal unrest made the mission far more complicated. "We can help," he said firmly. "Humans excel in working together, even under pressure. We can assist in ways your people might not anticipate." Thalnira studied him. "Perhaps, but the Queen must decide if such assistance is allowed." Over the next several days, the humans began small acts of goodwill. Mira used her scientific knowledge to stabilize an energy conduit that powered part of the floating city. Kira helped coordinate safe transportation across the bridges of light. Auric met with minor leaders, listening and learning. Each small success earned wary glances from Zalthara. She observed them silently, her golden eyes watching their every action. When Auric approached her once, she did not shout this time. Instead, she asked quietly, almost curiously, "Why do you insist on helping when it is not required?" "Because we believe that cooperation creates strength," Auric replied. "Humans survive by working together even with those very different from us. Perhaps your people can see the same." Zalthara's expression was unreadable. She turned and walked away without another word. Then one evening, disaster struck. A sudden explosion rocked a section of the city near the energy bridges. Panels of light shattered. Aliens fell, caught in midair, as the energy supporting the bridges flickered. Panic spread quickly, and alarms rang throughout the floating city. Auric's heart pounded. "Report!" he barked to his team. Mira checked her equipment frantically. "It's sabotage. Someone deliberately damaged the energy conduits. If the bridges collapse, parts of the city could fall." Kira's voice trembled slightly. "We need to alert the Queen." They ran toward the palace, moving faster than the city's usual pace allowed. Humans were small and slow compared to the native Zephorians, but determination and urgency made them quick. When they reached the Queen's throne chamber, Zalthara was already aware of the attack. "Humans," she said sharply, her presence like lightning. "You have been here barely a week, and yet trouble follows. How do I know you are not involved?" Auric raised his hands in protest. Your Majesty, we had no part in this. We have been working to stabilize your city, not destroy it. The Queen's eyes flared. I must decide. Actions have consequences. Before she could act further, Arik spotted a group of alien saboteurs fleeing the chamber. Without hesitation, he shouted, "There, they are behind this." Using a combination of quick thinking and the city's energy interfaces, Arik directed guards to trap the saboteurs. Mira used her portable devices to detect the energy surges the saboteurs were manipulating. Kira coordinated communications with nearby towers to prevent further sabotage. In a matter of minutes, the group was cornered and captured. Zalthara's advisors moved quickly to contain them, but it was clear, without human intervention, much of the city might have been. Plus, the Queen's golden eyes narrowed at Arik. For the first time, there was something between anger and curiosity. You intervened. Why? Because, Arik said steadily, even a powerful ruler cannot survive alone. Cooperation can save lives. For a long moment, Zalthara said nothing. Then, unexpectedly, she nodded. Perhaps humans are not entirely reckless. The humans were allowed to return to their quarters. On the balcony, Mira exhaled sharply. Captain, that was incredible. You saved hundreds of lives. You even earned a small measure of respect from her. Arik shook his head. It's not about respect yet. We've just begun. If we are to survive here, we need more than respect. We need trust, and trust is not given. It is earned. In the following days, the humans began to work more closely with Xiphoria's engineers. They repaired damaged bridges, restored energy flows, and helped devise early warning systems for sabotage attempts. Slowly, they became not just observers but active participants in the city's defense. Zalthara observed silently. She began to allow them brief audience sessions where she would question them about human behavior, human strategy, and their ideas for problem solving. Arik realized that her sharp words and occasional shouting were not just anger. They were tests of courage, honesty, and persistence. One day, during a private audience, Zalthara leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing. Humans are persistent, she said, her tone almost admiring. Few species would continue to assist when they are so clearly not needed. You continue to intrude. Why? Arik smiled faintly. Because humans do not give up easily. And sometimes persistence is the difference between survival and failure. We see what is possible here, Your Majesty, and we want to help you achieve it. The Queen studied him in silence. Then she rose, walked to the balcony, and looked out over the city. Perhaps, she said finally, your kind is not as foolish as I thought. But remember this. One misstep, and I will not hesitate. Arik nodded. Understood. As he walked back to his quarters, Mira whispered, Captain, she's changing. Slowly, but she is. The Queen, she might actually start to trust humans. Arik looked out at the glowing forests below, the floating bridges, and the bustling city towers above. Yes, he said quietly, and when trust is earned, humans can accomplish remarkable things, even on a world that seems impossible to survive. For the first time since they arrived, the Odyssey team felt a small glimmer of hope. They had survived the Queen's anger. They had saved lives. And they had taken the first steps toward turning suspicion into partnership. But deep inside Arik, he knew that Zephora still held many secrets. Internal unrest, hidden enemies, and the Queen's own fears could erupt at any moment. And when that happened, humans would need courage, intelligence, and ingenuity more than ever. For now, though, they had begun to prove something important, that human persistence, honor, and determination could make a difference in even the most alien and dangerous worlds. The morning air on Zephora was calm, almost serene, but Arik Vega knew that peace was fragile. From the observation tower of the palace, he could see the city alive with activity. The floating towers glowed with energy, bridges of light hummed under the weight of travelers, and the forests below pulsed faintly with the planet's energy. Everything seemed perfect, until the sensors of the human team warned them otherwise. "Captain," Lieutenant Kira Jelani said, her voice tense. "Multiple unknown ships approaching from the outer atmosphere. They're fast, heavily armed. I've never seen technology like this before." Arik's jaw tightened. "Enemy fleet?" he asked. Dr. Mira Solon adjusted her instruments. "Yes, they're not Xiphorian, and judging by the energy signatures, they are designed for destruction. This is no routine patrol." Zalthara appeared behind them, her presence commanding the room. Her golden eyes glowed brighter than usual. "You humans worry too much about trivial matters. Perhaps this is true, or perhaps your instincts are correct. You will see soon enough." Arik nodded, knowing the Queen's warning was more serious than it sounded. "Mira, what are their capabilities?" "Kira, alert the palace defenders. We may need to coordinate quickly." The Odyssey team and the Xiphorian defenders moved into action immediately. The alien city had never faced such an aggressive threat. The enemy ship swooped into the atmosphere, firing beams that cut through the light bridges, sending citizens scrambling for safety. Bridges collapsed, and floating towers shook violently under the assault. Arik felt his stomach tighten. "We have to help them stabilize the city. If the bridges fall, the entire floating metropolis could collapse." Mira quickly interfaced her portable devices with the city's energy grids. "I can reroute power to stabilize the bridges temporarily, but it won't hold long under sustained attack." Kira's voice came sharp over comms. "Captain, their weapons are adaptive. They adjust to our defenses. Standard tactics won't work." Arik made a decision. "Then we fight differently. Humans are good at improvisation. We'll use the city itself as a shield, lead their fire away from civilians, and counterattack from angles they won't expect." The humans coordinated with Xiphorian soldiers, placing energy shields at vulnerable points and guiding citizens to safer platforms. Arik personally directed the reinforcements to vulnerable towers, using his experience from countless battles on other planets. The aliens' technology was superior in raw power, but humans had ingenuity, adaptability, and the courage to act decisively under pressure. In the midst of the chaos, Arik noticed a group of Queen's advisors trapped in a collapsing platform. Without hesitation, he sprinted across the shaking bridge. Energy beams fired past him and debris rained down. He reached the advisors just as the bridge began to crumble beneath them. "Move! Now!" he shouted. The advisors froze for a moment, paralyzed by fear. Then, inspired by his courage, they ran with him, leaping onto a stable platform. Mira and Kira provided cover, using improvised energy barriers to block the enemy fire. The humans' decisive actions saved the group, earning wary glances from the Xiphorian soldiers who had doubted outsiders. Zalthara appeared on a distant platform, observing the battle. Her voice echoed over the city. "Humans, you are reckless, yet effective." Arik did not respond verbally. Words were meaningless here. Every action mattered more than any speech. Hours passed in a blur of fire, energy shields, and rapid movement. The humans working alongside Xiphorian forces began to push the enemy back. They used unconventional tactics like collapsing enemy platforms beneath attacking ships and rerouting city energy grids to confuse the enemy sensors. The alien fleet, powerful but rigid in strategy, struggled to adapt. During a brief lull, Arik and Mira regrouped on a safe platform. Mira's face was pale. "Captain, the Queen is in danger. Her central chamber is under direct threat. If they breach it, the city falls." Arik's jaw clenched. "We don't have a choice. We go to her. Protect the Queen at all costs. Human and Xiphorian. Together." They dashed toward the central palace, navigating shattered bridges and dodging debris. Soldiers fell around them, but the humans pushed forward, their determination unshakable. Arik felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, not just for his team, but for the entire city. As they reached the central palace, the enemy fleet concentrated their fire. Energy beams struck the walls and cracks appeared in the palace's crystalline structure. Citizens screamed in panic. Zalthara stood on her balcony, unflinching, as if daring the attackers to strike her down. Arik called out, "Your Majesty, follow me. We can get you to safety." Zalthara's eyes met his, glowing with a mix of anger and curiosity. "I do not need saving, human, but if you insist on risking yourselves, then so be it." Together, the humans guided the queen through secret corridors and stabilizing chambers, rerouting energy fields to create safe paths. Each step was dangerous, but their courage and ingenuity allowed them to navigate through chaos. Meanwhile, Kira and Mira coordinated with soldiers to set traps and disable enemy ships. The humans' unconventional tactics began to turn the tide. The enemy fleet, confused by unpredictable movements and adaptive defenses, started to falter. Arik finally brought the queen to a reinforced observation chamber overlooking the city. The walls glowed with energy shields, and for the first time, Zalthara allowed a faint expression of relief. "You humans," she said quietly, almost to herself. "You act with recklessness, yet with precision. Why?" Arik met her gaze. "Because we value life, not just our own but others. Humans survive by helping each other, by acting when it matters most. And we won't give up when lives are at stake, no matter how alien the world or how powerful the enemy." The queen studied him in silence. Slowly, her posture relaxed, just slightly. "Perhaps persistence is a virtue. Perhaps humans can be trusted after all." But there was no time to celebrate. The enemy fleet regrouped for a final strike, aiming a massive weapon at the city's core. Arik's mind raced. "We need a diversion," he shouted to Mira. "Draw their fire away from the city while we disable that weapon." Mira nodded, already working on a device that could interfere with the enemy's targeting systems. Kira coordinated with soldiers to guide citizens to safe zones. Arik, using both human ingenuity and knowledge of the city, set traps and energy pulses to confuse enemy sensors. The battle reached its climax. Energy beams collided, bridges shook violently, and the city trembled under the immense power unleashed. Citizens and soldiers alike struggled to maintain order, but humans never stopped moving, never stopped thinking, never stopped acting. Finally, Mira's device activated, jamming the enemy weapon. The beam fired, but it missed the city core by mere meters, exploding harmlessly into the sky. Arik led a coordinated strike with Xiphorian forces, taking down the remaining enemy ships one by one. Silence fell. The floating city trembled, but survived. Arik looked around at the damage: cracked platforms, shattered energy bridges, but alive citizens. And for the first time, the humans and the Queen's people shared a moment of cautious relief. Zalthara appeared before them, her golden eyes glowing steadily. She looked at Arik, and for the first time there was no anger, only recognition. "You humans," she said slowly. "You fight not because it is required, but because it is right. You are capable, perhaps more than I imagined." Arik bowed, slightly. "We fight because life is worth protecting, and because no matter how alien a world may be, we can work together to survive." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once firmly. "You have earned a measure of my respect, human. Do not mistake it for trust. It is earned, not given. But know this: should Xiphora ever face danger again, I will not hesitate to call upon those who act with honor." Arik allowed himself a small smile. "Understood, Your Majesty. We will continue to earn that trust." As the humans worked alongside Xiphorian engineers to repair the city and care for the wounded, Arik realized something important. Humans had survived against impossible odds countless times, not because of superior technology or numbers, but because of their courage, ingenuity, and persistence. And today on Xiphora, those traits had not only saved lives, they had saved an entire civilization. The enemy ships were gone. The city trembled but remained intact. And humans, once strangers and outsiders, had become heroes in the eyes of an alien world. For Arik Vega, That was the true meaning of HFY. Humans could rise to challenges no one else could, turning desperation into hope, chaos into order, and enemies into allies. Even Queen Zalthara, who had shouted at him days before, seemed to understand now. Humans were relentless, intelligent, and brave. And that combination, so ordinary to them, was extraordinary to the rest of the galaxy. As night fell over the floating towers, glowing softly in the twin suns' fading light, Arik looked out over the city. He knew the next challenge would come. Internal unrest, hidden enemies, and the Queen's own doubts still lingered. But for now, humans had proven their worth, and that was enough to inspire hope, not just in themselves, but in an entire alien civilization. The city of Zephora was slowly recovering from the attack. Bridges of light that had been shattered were now repaired, energy conduits stabilized, and the citizens cautiously returned to their routines. But the air was tense. Though the enemy had been defeated, the threat had revealed weaknesses, both in the city's defenses and in the trust between the Queen and her people. Captain Arik Vega walked alongside Dr. Mira Solen and Lieutenant Kira Jelani through the floating gardens. Near the palace, the gardens glowed with soft, bioluminescent light, and delicate plants hovered above the pathways as if suspended by magic. The humans had learned to navigate the gardens with care, avoiding sensors and guards while still observing the city's pulse. "We've done well," Mira said quietly, her eyes scanning the platforms. "But I can feel it, Captain. The Queen still doubts us, and some of her people, they still think humans are dangerous." Arik nodded. "Doubt is natural, trust is earned, not given. And right now, we have to show them that humans don't act for power or glory. We act for life, for survival, and sometimes for honor." Kira glanced at him. "You really believe the Queen can trust us?" Arik smiled faintly. "She's already starting to. We just have to keep proving ourselves, one right choice at a time." That evening, the Queen requested a private audience. Arik and Mira were escorted to a chamber high in the palace towers, overlooking the recovering city. The view was breathtaking. Platforms glowed softly, bridges of light shimmered, and citizens moved like streams of living energy. Yet Zalthara's presence was heavier than the glowing sky. "You humans," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "You have survived situations that would have destroyed others. You saved my city. You even saved me." Arik bowed. "Your Majesty, it was a team effort. Humans and Zyphorians working together. That is what saved lives today." The Queen's golden eyes glimmered, betraying the faintest hint of curiosity. "And yet, why do you risk yourselves so freely? Humans are fragile. Your bodies are not as strong as mine. Your species is unpredictable." "Why?" "Because humans fight for what is right," Arik said, his voice calm. "Because courage is not about strength alone. It is about making choices when the outcome is uncertain. And we believe that life is worth protecting even if it is not our own." Zalthara studied him silently. Then she spoke almost softly. "I see now why humans persist, why you do not leave when warned. Perhaps there is wisdom in your stubbornness." Arik inclined his head. "Sometimes, persistence is the only way to make a difference. We do not give up easily because giving up is not an option when lives are at stake." For the first time, Zalthara gestured for them to sit. "Tell me," she said, "why should I allow humans to remain on Zephora? Why should I trust you?" Arik looked out over the city. "Because we've shown that we can help. Not because we are stronger than your people, not because we have better technology, but because we are willing to act when action is needed. Trust is earned by deeds, not words." The Queen seemed to consider this carefully. Finally, she said, "Perhaps there is value in your kind, but trust is more than deeds, it is understanding." Arik leaned forward. "Then help us understand. Help us earn your trust fully. Teach us your ways, your culture, Your knowledge. Let us show that humans and Xiphorians can achieve more together than alone. For a long moment there was silence. Then the Queen's energy shifted slightly, a sign of approval. Very well. You will learn. But be warned. Xiphora's ways are not simple. Some of my people are loyal, some less so. You must understand the balance of caution and action. Over the next few days, Arik, Mira, and Kira worked closely with the Queen and her advisors. They observed the city's management systems, learned about energy flow control, and studied the subtle social structures that kept the floating metropolis stable. Humans were amazed at how every action was connected, how a single misstep could ripple across the city. Yet they also began to see opportunities, ways their knowledge could enhance defenses, improve efficiency, and even heal the environmental damage caused by previous conflicts. One afternoon, Arik and Mira walked through the lower gardens with a group of Xiphorian engineers. "See this energy conduit?" Mira asked. "We could stabilize it using a feedback loop I designed. It would prevent overloads and collapse during attacks." The lead engineer, a tall, violet-skinned Xiphorian named Thalnira, studied the C device carefully. "Your approach is unconventional, but it may work. Humans, you think differently. That is useful." Arik smiled. "We're not perfect, but sometimes seeing things differently helps solve impossible problems." Meanwhile, Kira coordinated patrols with Xiphorian forces. She had learned to anticipate sabotage attempts and could predict enemy behavior, using patterns the humans recognized from their own experience in warfare. Her strategies strengthened city defenses and saved countless potential casualties. Xalthara watched all of this closely. She no longer shouted at them. She asked questions, observed, and tested their resolve with subtle challenges. One evening, she brought Arik to the balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the glowing platforms. "You humans," she said quietly. "You continue to act despite my warnings. You continue to risk yourselves and my people. Why?" Arik looked at her steadily. "Because humans believe in doing what is right. Because we see potential for cooperation, for understanding, and for survival. And because giving up is not an option. Not for us. Not when others' lives depend on our actions." The Queen studied him in silence. Then, for the first time, she allowed a faint smile. "Perhaps humans are not so reckless after all. Perhaps your persistence is admirable." Arik felt a surge of relief. This was more than respect. It was a beginning of real trust. But even as they worked together, Arik could sense a deeper danger. Some factions within the city were still uneasy. Not all citizens fully accepted humans. Some whispered doubts, some challenged orders, some even plotted against outsiders. Arik realized that survival depended not only on defending against external threats, but also on navigating internal politics with care and honesty. One evening, as they prepared for rest, a sudden alarm rang through the city. Energy fluctuations were detected in one of the outer platforms. Arik immediately mobilized with Mira and Kira. They arrived to find a small group of Xiphorian saboteurs attempting to disable an energy hub. Arik did not hesitate. Using a combination of quick thinking, tactical maneuvers, and improvised devices, he and his team captured the group without harming them seriously. When Xalthara arrived to see the results, she nodded. "You act with intelligence and caution. Humans, yet perhaps there is hope in your kind." Arik bowed. "We will continue to act with care, Your Majesty. Every step, every choice is to earn your trust and to help your people survive." The Queen's golden eyes softened slightly. "Trust is earned, and you are earning it. But remember, even with trust, the galaxy is dangerous. Allies and enemies are not always obvious." Arik nodded. "We understand, and we are ready for what comes next." As the sun set fully, casting the city in hues of violet and gold, Arik stood on the balcony and looked at the vast floating metropolis. He felt hope, for the first time since arriving on Zephora. Humans had proven their courage, intelligence, and ingenuity in battle. They had saved lives, earned respect, and begun to build trust with an alien queen who had once shouted at him. The city of Zephora shone like a jewel under the twin suns, yet Arik Vega knew that peace was fragile. The previous attacks had revealed vulnerabilities in both the city's defenses and its unity. And now, sensors warned of an incoming threat. One, larger and more organized than any before. "Captain," Lieutenant Kira Jelani said, her voice tense but steady. "Enemy fleet approaching. They're bigger, faster, and more coordinated than last time. Energy signatures indicate heavy artillery and adaptive shields." Arik studied the readings. "This is no minor raid. They want control of Zephora, or total destruction." He turned to Dr. Mira Solon. "How fast can we prepare defenses and stabilize the city?" Mira adjusted her instruments. "We can reinforce bridges and energy grids, but not without cooperation from the Queen's forces. And we'll need to work fast." Arik's jaw clenched. "Then we get cooperation and we act. Humans don't wait for permission when lives are at stake." The Queen appeared, walking silently beside Arik. Zalthara's golden eyes glowed with intensity. "The enemy knows our weaknesses," she said. "They will strike where we are most vulnerable. Humans, you have proven your worth before. Can you do it again?" Arik nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. Together we can protect your city and your people." The humans worked alongside Zephorian engineers, soldiers, and strategists. Mira rerouted power through emergency conduits, reinforcing the city's floating platforms. Kira coordinated patrols and defensive positions, teaching Zephorian forces human tactical maneuvers to anticipate enemy movements. Arik moved between teams, inspiring confidence, making split-second decisions, and adjusting plans as the situation evolved. From the palace balconies, Zalthara observed. For the first time she spoke without anger. "Humans, you are relentless. Your determination may be the key to survival." The enemy fleet entered Zephora's atmosphere. Ships glided in formation, firing destructive energy beams that sliced through the outskirts of the city. Floating platforms trembled, citizens ran in panic, and energy bridges flickered dangerously. Arik made a quick decision. "We need to draw their attention away from the central city core. Mira, can your device scramble their targeting?" "I'm on it," Mira said, quickly connecting her device to the city's energy network. A pulse of interference spread through the enemy's targeting systems, causing beams to miss vital structures. Kira shouted from a nearby tower. "Captain, enemy ships are adjusting. We need more than interference." Arik scanned the battlefield. He noticed an opening. One of the enemy ships had isolated itself from the fleet, attempting to flank the city. "Kira, lead a strike team." To intercept, Mira, keep the disruption active. Humans and Zephorian soldiers moved together, striking with precision. They used unconventional tactics, collapsing enemy platforms beneath attacking ships, redirecting energy to confuse enemy shields, and leveraging the city's structures as improvised weapons. Even Zalthara joined the effort, using her command of the city's energy flows to shield civilians and redirect attacks. Humans and Zephorians fought side by side, their combined strength and intelligence overwhelming the enemy. But just as the battle seemed to be turning, a massive ship broke through the outer defenses. It fired a colossal energy beam aimed at the city's core. Arik realized that if it hit, the floating metropolis would collapse entirely. "We need a diversion," he shouted. "Mira, overload their shields. Kira, evacuate civilians to safe platforms." Mira worked frantically, channeling energy to interfere with the ship's targeting systems. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the humans' devices strained under pressure. Kira coordinated safe evacuation routes, guiding citizens across unstable bridges with unwavering courage. Arik took a deep breath and made a bold choice. "I'm going to lead a direct attack. Human ingenuity works best when the odds are impossible." He activated a small experimental energy pulse device designed to disrupt enemy shields. Dodging debris and energy blasts, Arik maneuvered close to the massive ship. With a calculated strike, he activated the pulse, causing the ship's shields to flicker and fail. Scyphorian forces, taking advantage of the opening, struck the ship's weak points. Explosions rocked the fleet as the massive ship was disabled, and the remaining enemy forces retreated, unable to recover. Silence fell over the city. The platforms trembled, but they held. Citizens slowly emerged from their shelters, cheering for the humans and their own defenders. Arik, Mira, and Kira regrouped on a stable tower, exhausted but alive. Zalthara appeared beside them. For the first time, her expression was neither anger nor suspicion. Her golden eyes shone with admiration. "You humans," she said softly, "you risked yourselves without hesitation. You acted with courage, intelligence, and honor. You have earned my trust." Arik bowed. "Your Majesty, we did what was necessary. Together, humans and Xiphorians can accomplish more than either alone." The Queen's gaze swept across the city, now recovering from the attack. "Yes, perhaps a new era begins. One where humans are not just outsiders, but allies." Over the following days, humans worked tirelessly alongside Xiphorian engineers and strategists to repair damage, strengthen defenses, and train forces for future threats. Every action, every improvement, was a testament to human perseverance and ingenuity. Citizens who had once whispered doubts about humans now praised them as heroes. Xiphorian soldiers who had been skeptical learned human tactics and strategies, combining them with their own innate abilities to create new methods of defense. Zalthara called Arik to a private audience once more. "Captain Vega," she said, "your people are remarkable. You did not leave me alone as you were warned. Yet your persistence has brought understanding and hope. The galaxy may yet learn that humans are different, and perhaps that difference is valuable." Arik smiled faintly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans strive to do what is right. Courage, intelligence, and teamwork guide our actions. We hope to continue proving that these qualities are worth something, everywhere, even here on Zephora." "Tiwi?" Queen regarded him for a long moment, then nodded. "Yes. You will remain on Zephora, not as intruders, but as partners. Let this be the start of a new era, one of cooperation, trust, and shared knowledge." For Arik Vega, the words were more than a victory. They were proof that human persistence, courage, and ingenuity could overcome even the most alien challenges. Humans had faced impossible odds, navigated cultural and political complexities, and defended an entire civilization. The floating city of Zephora began to thrive once again. Platforms glowed with renewed energy, bridges were stronger than before, and citizens moved with a sense of safety and pride. Humans continued to assist, not as conquerors but as allies and partners. Arik stood on the highest balcony, looking out over the city. The twin suns set in hues of violet and gold, casting a warm glow over the floating towers. He thought of the journey that had brought them here, from the Queen's shouted warning to the trust and respect they had earned. Mira joined him, her expression thoughtful. "Captain, we've done something incredible. Not just saved a city, but shown that humans can be more than outsiders, that we can be heroes." Arik nodded. "Yes, and it's not just about heroism. It's about showing the galaxy that humans can rise to challenges, even when everything seems impossible. That's what makes us, us." Kira looked up at the glowing towers. "Do you think the galaxy will remember this?" Arik smiled. "It doesn't matter if they remember. What matters is that we did it, that we stood with others, defended life, and acted with honor. And that's enough." Zalthara appeared behind them, her presence calm and commanding. "Captain Vega," she said, "the galaxy may not yet understand your species. But here, on Zephora, humans have proven their value. You did not leave me alone, human. And perhaps that was exactly what I needed." Arik looked at her, a mixture of respect and gratitude in his eyes. "Your Majesty, thank you for trusting us." The Queen nodded, her golden eyes glowing softly. "Trust is earned, and you have earned it, human. Let this be the beginning, not the end. As night fell, the city glowed with renewed life. Humans and Xiphorians worked together, side by side, preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. And for the first time, Arik felt that humanity had not only survived in the vast alien universe, they had truly made a difference. Humans had shown that courage, intelligence, persistence, and honor could turn strangers into allies, danger into opportunity, and fear into hope. Xiphora had survived, not because of power alone, but because humans refused to give up, even when every obstacle seemed impossible.